What's the most messed up thing at your school? Viewers Edition. All right, comment section, you told us your messed up school stories and we picked some of our favorites. And boy, some of them really are messed up. Story 1. In middle school, there was a fight going on, two kids beating each other up because one was being racist or something, and a very packed crowd started to form around them. Since it was when we were switching classes, literally everyone was out, and they decided to fight right in the middle so nobody could get up or down the stairs, past them, nowhere. That was the only spot leading to the other side of the school where most people's classes were. It got so tight in the crowd that I couldn't breathe for a solid 2 minutes and almost passed out as I was trying not to fall over from the people shoving me around, because if I did, I'd be trampled and most likely suffer some serious injuries or worse. Everyone was pushing, trying to see what was happening. As a short person, I couldn't see anything and had no clue what was happening, and it was very easy to shove me around, especially when I literally couldn't breathe. About 2 teachers were trying to get to the people fighting, but the crowd was just way too tight since they had extremely small hallways. I guess the security was on break because nobody was there. I got shoved around so much that I was eventually pushed to the railing where the transition of the stairs were and almost fell over the edge. We were on the 2nd floor and it was about a 30 to 40 foot drop. I managed to slide myself over along the railing outside of the crowd, getting hit in the head by some jerks who were using me as a liftoff. I finally made it out, literally gasping for breath, and waited for the crowd to clear out since I had to get to the other side of it to get to my next class. As I was getting my breath back, some randos started giving me dirty looks and said I was being dramatic when I literally didn't even do anything to them. Once it cleared, I went to class, the teacher got mad at me for being late, the end. Literally, nobody cared. Some kid went to the hospital after falling over and getting stomped on. She then got to know the luxuries of a wheelchair. Still, nobody cared. No teachers talked about it. They contacted the parents about a week later. This all happened on the 2nd day of school in 8th grade, so yeah, now I'm in virtual school because I'd rather not go through that again. Most terrifying moment of my life. That sounds genuinely pretty scary. I'm glad you managed to get out okay because a rowdy crowd is damn dangerous. It sucks, but large groups of angry or excited people are really freaking unpredictable and almost impossible to fight against. I'm not always a huge fan of remote schooling, but I 100% think you made the right choice after going through that. Story 2. At my high school, it's an all-girls school, and the upper 6 formers would mess up the school in a funny but non-damaging way. They basically stuck up funny messages of getting detentions and things for dancing on tables or being cringe that they would edit themselves and put shaving foam on the stairs, and it was quite funny. The next day, the lower 6 tried to do a similar thing, but it was worse. They flipped over the desks in most classrooms and held everything together with string and would walk into random classes throughout the day and annoy everyone with air horns and junk. But the worst part was in the main bathroom. They took pads, put bright red paint on them, and stuck them all over the place. And they left the paint there too, so everyone painted all over the place. Most people felt uncomfortable, and then the lower 6 had to send an apology email. Story 3. When I was 12 and just moving into this new school, there was a kid who was constantly bullied. I tried to talk to him, but he always pushed me away, so I focused on dealing with my own problems with bullying. He was being constantly favored by the teachers who all seemed to dislike him, which was very strange. 6 months in, we go on winter break, and when we're back, the principal disappears. Just didn't show up for his job for a few weeks and then got officially fired. When he got fired, the bullied kid also disappeared. A year later, I found out that the principal, a married man, was having intercourse with multiple parents, and the bullied kid's mom was his favorite. She was also married. This is a Seventh-day Adventist institution, and you can see how it'd become a scandal. The kid's mom pulled him out of school and moved to Brasilia. No idea what became of them. I was trying to predict where this story was going, and I've got to say, wasn't expecting that. I'm not sure why I didn't expect infidelity to enter into this thread. It is a thread with teachers in it, and while I think most of you teachers are great, there are plenty of you who have a real problem keeping pants on. I just hope things were okay for all the kids in the story in the end. Story 4. The most effed up thing that ever happened at my school was in 9th grade and had me involved, and I got expelled for it. Sure, I could have handled it differently, but in the moment I wasn't thinking straight. There was a gang of 5 guys who always used to pick on this one kid. It usually turned into him getting beat up pretty frequently. I was already on my second strike for getting involved with them in 2 previous encounters, and I was really trying to keep my peace to myself, but I was already in a bad mood, but having a crappy morning, so what happened is we went to the cafeteria as usual. I sat down in the farthest corner of the room because I don't like to socialize when I eat. And lo and behold, here come the 5 jackbutts with their plates empty, which I found strange because I generally never missed eating. Then I saw them walking over to the guy that they regularly bully, and in turn, they work the cafeteria plate. You know, those crappy little tin plates. Anyone who's been in the cafeteria knows what I'm talking about. Over the back of this guy's head in rapid succession. Leave the other day, didn't start off, that crap is gonna get ugly at that point to them last, and took a swing at me. No, I'm not gonna go into detail because there was a lot of blood, but the gist of it is, I ended up hospitalizing 3 of them. I leaving the other 2 with about, I think it was 17 and 19 stitches and severe scarring among many other things. A reconstructed jaw, cheek, false teeth implanted, a broken arm, and shattered fingers. I went to anger management and was prescribed 2 psychologists for the next 4 months and then homeschooled myself for 2.5 years, then joined the military I've currently been serving for 9 years. Sorry if that was a little hard to follow, folks. That was all written as one sentence. Fighting to defend a kid is something I won't necessarily condemn. Complete lack of punctuation? Well, that condemns itself. I'm giving you some guff, commenter, but in all seriousness, I hope you're happier now, and thanks for your service. Story 5. I have a few, actually. Last week, 3 kids got stabbed with rusty compass needles in my class. 1 went to the hospital. A friend of a friend was shot after refusing to give drugs to a gang member who went to our high school a while back. I learned of it through my friend. A group of kids were being assaulted by my girlfriend after her father got into a motorcycle accident and was in the hospital for a long time. I distinctly heard one of them say, "Too bad you weren't with him." I have no idea why this happened. She's very popular and well-liked by essentially everyone in the school. 4 11th graders were arguing about what the best mouse for Minecraft is. At one point, the biggest of them tried to strangle one of the others, and he only got a detention. The guy who was being strangled passed out at one point. Teachers get to decide who's allowed to make out at our school. If they like the students, or at least one of them, for all they care, if the students are quiet enough, they can do anything except actual intercourse. If they don't like both of them, they aren't allowed to do crap. I'm one of the lucky ones. This school sounds frankly a little intense for me in all regards. I grew up in a town in northern Minnesota, so we had no gangs, and violence and all that was pretty rare. Honestly, my time in high school was pretty boring compared to most of these stories. I'm not sure how you all handle this kind of violence and intensity, but I do genuinely worry about the students in big schools these days. Do me a favor and stay safe, okay? Story 6. I've got one. I once saw a girl with her friends get pulled a knife on by a super creepy boy. The boy had been stalking her all 2 years they went to the same school, and he made a blood oath to her by cutting his hand with a pocket knife. He also hacked her email and grades. Her friends were deeply concerned, and the first year of the new school, they were both in the same class. The second year they weren't, and one Thursday the boy was absent, so the girl decided with her friend to take a date to get the boy off her back. The next day the boy came back and heard the news from a gossip girl in his class. He then at recess pulled the knife. The girl quickly told the recess monitor, and he only got suspended for 10 days. The girl was super scared all the time. Plot twist number 1, this was in 6th grade at a gifted school. The next year, the girl was in an advanced homeroom, so every class she had the same people. The people in your homeroom share every class. She came to find out he was in her homeroom, aka all her classes, and her mother set a meeting with the school, who did nothing about it. It was a rough and stressful year for her. He's still a creep to this day. Plot twist number 2, that girl was me. Story 7. A boy in my brother's high school is possibly the worst teen I've ever heard of. This kid would get into fights, cuss others out, and many other things. He was the water boy on my brother's football team. That was because he got suspended from the team, but still got to stay as he is now. Once, as I quote and heard from others, he cussed out the coach so badly that the coach screamed at him and sent him away. He left crying. Now, the most messed up thing I've heard about him is that he pushed a police officer/deputy down the stairs on purpose. The high school has lots of stairs, but they could be long. Cop did nothing. He just pushed him down the stairs. Kid only got suspended. Look, I make no secret that I'm not the biggest fan of the police, but you don't just hurt people. Not okay. It sounds like this kid probably has some major issues at home and could use some help. Sadly, it also sounds like he's far enough down the wrong path that getting him help will just become harder and harder, and that is really unfortunate. Here's hoping someone can turn this kid's life around. Story 8. Well, a true story from personal experience. I've never really gotten into problems with anyone until the week before homecoming. I was going with my buddies and a couple of their friends. One of my friends was going with his girlfriend, so we chose to keep a silent distance from them. About a quarter into the game, and we decided to get some hot dogs. On our way there, we heard the guy and his girl yelling at each other. We also noticed that there was a dude dressed in some weird gothic setup standing right next to them. We went in to see what was going on, but before we could say a word, the girl bolted down the stairs in tears. Furious, we asked what was going on. Both the goth and our friend had different stories, but we believed our friend and told the other guy to leave. The next day at lunch, we all sat down and started a conversation on the random split-up. Apparently, the goth told the girl that our friend was cheating on her, then told her that he never cared about him. We kept discussing this until the period ended. We all decided to split up and try to figure out the reason behind the random goth. Walking through the hallway, I saw the goth walking with our friend's girl. At first, I thought it was just some stupid joke, but it kept going on for weeks until they started holding hands and all of that nasty crap. It was pretty clear what happened. The goth manipulated that girl into thinking that she was being cheated on. I informed the boys, and they told me that they talked with some people they knew, and they told them that the goth has been doing this since freshman year. We are sophomores and juniors. At the end of the school day, we stepped up to the guy and told him that we would mess his whole social status up if he kept going out with her. I guess it worked because the next day they walked right past each other. This taught me to just wait until college for a romance. Dating in high school is never worth it. That whole situation sucks and is gross. Lying to get with someone is just a bad idea from start to finish. But I will say, I think high school dating is good, sort of. Like, don't get me wrong, it is way too intense and full of drama. Just some of the most wild highs and lows because teen emotions are literally more intense than adult emotions. But for starters, it is a good learning experience for dating as an adult. You don't need to date in high school, but it can certainly help. Second, some of those highs, first kisses, thinking you're in love, you only get to feel that stuff that strongly once. Might be kind of worth the crappy side of things. Story 9. I didn't witness it. I was out sick. Keep in mind, this was in second grade, and we had a very strict teacher. I came back to the school after a day with a runny nose. I noticed that the popular kid didn't show up, and she was always there. I started to get worried because we were somewhat friends. Nobody answered me when I asked what happened. Finally, one kid, the smart one, and no, she didn't bully him, answered me when I asked. It turns out she was whispering and playing truth or dare with a group of girls and was dared to sharpen her smaller toe, whatever you call it. I'll be darned, she actually did it. Never underestimate what a second grader would do. Story 10. Story of my own. I went to a different school than my brother, who was a middle schooler. I was elementary in 5th grade. My brother's school was sort of 2 schools in one. One is elementary and the other is middle school. My dad had picked me up from school. On the way to my brother's school, there is an intersection, or actually next to the school. So much traffic to turn, but there's a reason. Someone else in a car driving past us was going slow and getting people to roll windows down to say something that is stuck in my mind forever. A kid at the intersection got hit. An elementary student got hit by a car and was lying there, but my dad was a traffic worker for a construction company. Then he parked to the side and stopped traffic to let a cop through. That cop had blocked the way for the traffic to see it. But I saw something while we turned. A car. The car that had hit her had a windshield imprint on the corner of it. I saw the kid also on the floor. He did not die. And it was the child's fault for crossing, trying to beat the car. Story 11. The thing that happened at my school isn't the worst thing ever, but it was still pretty crazy, so I'll say it. I was at a football game just hanging out with some people in my class. It was like fall, so it was pretty cold, and we were all just sitting on our baseball field trying to stay warm. This kid that's new to our school came over and was being a little weird. He was kind of yelling at this girl, asking her why her sister wouldn't talk to him. The whole thing was really strange since no one there really knew him. Some of the kids in the group started telling him to go away, and some people were being kind of mean to him. He then started freaking out at this one girl there and screaming at her things like, "I'm not afraid to hit a girl." And no one really knew what to do for a minute, so some people were laughing, not because they thought it was funny, just because it was really awkward situation since no one knew how to de-escalate what was happening. He was screaming things like this in her face for a minute or two before some people from that group started pushing him away and holding him back. Eventually, a teacher came over. I don't know if someone told her or she noticed what was happening, but she pulled him away and talked to him and a few people that were there, including me. Well, fast forward a month or two and our school gets canceled for a day. In an email, it said the school heard of a threat and they were trying to figure out if it was credible or not, I guess. When we get back to school, I find out it was that same kid that made the threat saying he would shoot up the school. I heard some rumors, though I don't know that they were true, that he made a list of who his targets were and that he was telling some people if they wanted to live to go to a specific teacher's room at a day and time. The whole thing was pretty crazy, but luckily he is out of the school now. I'm glad he was caught because school shootings are no joke. That is scary as hell. I also feel a little bad for the kid because it sounds like someone may have failed him along the way and that led to him becoming like that. Not for sure, but there's a good chance. Sad thing is, now that he's taken stuff too far, that is going to screw up his life. And when you threaten to shoot up a school, my sympathies for you just vanish. Story 12. In my middle school, some students brought ghost pepper chips and they made some boys try the chips. One of the boys had a huge allergic reaction to the ghost pepper chips. His eyes were swelling up and he couldn't breathe that well. In the end, the students got after-school detention for a week, and I witnessed the guy's eyes were red and looked like he couldn't see. I hope that kid feels better. Story 2. In my elementary school, I was doing a spelling test. While doing the test, someone snitched on a boy that cheated on the test. The boys were yelling at each other, then they started fighting. Then the guy that snitched on the other guy punched him so hard that his nose bled all over the floor while he was crying. In the end, the boys got suspended for 3 days. I was kind of traumatized, especially because I was in 2nd grade. Sad to hear about that kind of violence in 2nd grade. But on a lighter note, this semi-recent obsession with ghost peppers is just getting silly. I like spicy food, but I've had ghost peppers once, and it just isn't even fun. It's like eating pain. Apparently even more so for that one poor kid. I remember when I was a kid, people were satisfied with habaneros as the pepper that was a thrill to eat. Now you all are eating chips made out of butthole melting devil peppers, and I just can't see the appeal. Story 13. My story. About 2 months ago, I was walking to the bathroom, and in one of the empty classrooms, the classroom was empty due to the teacher leaving and nobody being there to replace her, I saw that my friend was being beaten up by one of the seniors. So as a sign of friendship, I helped him out and started beating on the senior. He ended up breaking my nose, but I won the fight. I got suspended for 1 week and he got suspended for 2 weeks. In my opinion, both punishments were a bit light considering we broke each other's bones. Second story, in 7th grade over half a decade ago, sometime around 2015, maybe 2016, 2017, I had a friend and he was pretty cool. Turns out his friend was not as cool as he thought, as he ended up with his own little group of friends jumping a 6th grader and beating him half to death. Teachers got involved and the bathroom was full of blood. The kid survived, but he moved states. That friend was expelled but eventually came back in high school, only to end up getting jumped by the cousin of that kid and end up in the hospital around 2 years ago. Story 14. There was a kid in school who had Irlen syndrome and had to wear special glasses to function. Irlen syndrome is difficult with visual perceptual processing. Trouble was, the glasses' lenses are pink. You can see why a boy amongst 13 to 15-year-olds wouldn't survive having pink glasses. The most messed up thing I saw was the aftermath of some severe bullying. He had been pushed about and bullied so badly he fell into the road and just lay there crying. All of us just walked right past him. Nobody knew what to do, but we were all terrified of the bullies. I really cannot forget this poor kid lying face down where cars drive, absolutely bawling, while nobody helped. All because of some pink glasses. F that school. That just makes me so sad and angry at the same time. Friggin' bullies like that. I don't want to condone violence. I don't think it is the solution. But also, when a kid has had enough and just friggin' texts a bully like that, I can't really feel bad for them either. Like that previous story, you act like a piece of crap and eventually people will retaliate by acting like crap. Just a cycle of crap. Story 15. Probably the most messed up thing in my middle school as of now is that I'm autistic and special needs, and none of the staff take my autism seriously, and the school counselor goes to 6 other schools throughout the day, and he isn't even certified in autism, and also that my special ed teacher gives me multiple packets of work that I have a week to complete, and I only get 45 minutes to do them every day, but considering I have depression, the work only stresses me out even more, so I'm not done with it by the end of the week, and I got my Q1 report card recently, and I'm upset because I got a C+ in special ed science, all because I'm stressed. I also have a 40 to 45 minute bus ride every morning, which also makes me sick. My little brother's elementary school is also completely messed up because one time on the playground, a girl threatened him with glass, and all she got was a referral. Another kid at his school also one time poured Fruit Loops into one of the urinals in the boys' bathroom. There's also another kid at his school who also apparently threw wet toilet paper all over the boys' bathroom stalls there. Nothing has been done about it. I really wish my school district in general could handle this better. Story 16. I've got one from middle school. So last year, my middle school started hosting kids who go to various sports programs and allow one of them to use our field and stuff. The kids were obnoxious, they were bullied, but since their parents generated a lot of money for the school, nothing ever happened to them. This was the star program, the one with the guy who got arrested for pedophilia and child molestation. That guy has since been released on bail, and the program's been almost completely shut down from our school. Some of the kids still go to the school, but they have changed for the better. Also, there have been multiple panic attacks, the fire alarm gets pulled at least once a month, our school is like 3 streets down from a street affiliated with a gang, and someone overdosed on edibles a month ago. Great experience at my middle school. I honestly don't know how you all deal with the amount of wild crap going on at your schools. So many of these stories, you've just got a laundry list of awful stuff to deal with. Can I just try to comfort you all a little by letting you know that life can get a lot better when you get out of school? I'm not saying the adult world is a friggin' walk in the park, but it sure doesn't feel nearly as rough as what you are dealing with. You kids impress me. Story 17. It was senior year of high school. I was in the gym during after-school hours, volunteering to watch the younger kids until their ride came, and I needed to go to the bathroom in the corner of the room. I went to get up when my female friend grabbed my arm and said, "I wouldn't go in there if I were you." Since I knew I wouldn't make it to the bathroom on the other side of the school in time, I just braved it and went anyway. I opened the door and I heard a splash sound when I took a step forward. The entire floor was flooded. There were used and unused pads stuck to the walls, blood and poop smeared everywhere, YOLO written in what I hoped was lipstick on the bathroom mirrors, and the sound of water running coming from the biggest stall. Doing my best not to throw up, I went to the big stall and opened the door to find a tall chair spinning around with one of its legs clogging the toilet. And like on cue, the overflowing toilet spat out a turd that floated down the stream all the way to the front door. In absolute shock and horror, I just calmly walked to the door, stepped over the turd, walked to my friend, and sat down. "So how was your trip?" she asked. I couldn't make this up if I tried. I can still see that bathroom in my nightmares to this day. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.